And Wayne Metzen, an investigative journalist from Washington, has his own theory on the origins of the virus.
I spoke to two journalists, one from Mexico City and the other one from Jakarta, Indonesia. And of course, Indonesia had a problem not long ago with bird flu. Both these journalists have been in touch with UN and World Health Organization officials, including a scientist who's dealt with Ebola virus and HIV/AIDS in Africa. And it's their conclusion, these scientists who they've spoken to, that this is a very unusual form of flu because it looks like it is a product of some gene splicing. The flu contains elements of bird flu, two forms of human flu, and various forms of swine flu. To them, it doesn't look like this is naturally occurring. The other thing is the target for this flu, as opposed to other flus, it's not the very young and the very old, it's people between the ages of 20 and 45. And the other thing is, people are not contracting this from pigs. The National Pork Council here in America says pigs are not being affected. This is human-to-human contact, so people who either eat pork or are exposed to pigs are not getting this flu. Very unusual, and of course the scientists are very alarmed by the way it's being spread and the speed at which it's being spread.
We really want to get into Baxter International, this bird flu virus, and you're much better suited to talk about this than I am. The two separate types of live bird flu that were found in it, and the separate type of flu strain that was found in it. Why does this seem utterly impossible to be an accident?
Baxter is totally integrated with the petrochemical pharmaceutical cartel and the progeny of IG Farben, Germany's leading industrial organization, that were obviously intimately connected with the Third Reich, and the breakdown of that whole cartel that now leads to American Home Products, Baxter, the people that were implicated in the anthrax mailing.
5 would be dead, and thousands of others exposed to one of the deadliest bacteria known to man.
There are very few people who have the bench skills to make a product this good.
Federal investigators discovered clues to the perpetrator's identity encoded in the bacterium itself.
There are 89 different types of anthrax, but each one has its own kind of trail. This one led directly back to our own defense establishment.
Was the U.S. government hiding a terrorist inside America's biodefense community? Some say yes, and that the official government investigation was a sham.
The only people who know anything about the subject are also the suspects.
They're protecting this individual.
What we're dealing with here is an inside job with a real insider who has secrets that nobody wants to get out. It's going to be too humiliating, too embarrassing.
All the spores were sent for immediate forensic testing. By the 10th of October, the analysis of the spores was complete. The results were horrifying. The bacterium that killed Robert Stevens and eventually infected 7 of his colleagues was identified as the Ames strain, a strain long favored by and under the near total control of the U.S. biodefense program.
Baxter has also reputations of poisoning other people in other ways. So give me a little bit of background. What's the story?
All right, basically last month, Bloomberg really quickly at the end of February picked up on a story that Baxter had mailed out to 14 different countries a anti-avian flu vaccination, basically, supposedly the cure. Now, one of the subcontractors in Czechoslovakia injected one of his ferrets. The ferret died, and then they analyzed it, and they said that they had 2 live, in fact, if we could pull up some articles, guys, while I'm talking about this in prisonplanet.tv, 2 live strains of the avian flu. I think it was H3N1, and then it was H3N1, maybe A, or it was a subspecies of that, and then there was another type of flu virus in this. Now, they tried to claim it was an accident, but it would seem to me that this just couldn't be possibly an accident.
Baxter vaccine materials and sent to 18 countries is the topic of this hour. And in case you missed the story, let me give you just a little bit of background on it. The company that released contaminated flu virus material from a plant in Austria confirmed recently that the experimental product contained live H5N1 avian flu viruses. And an official of the World Health Organization's European operations said the body is closely monitoring the investigation into the events that took place at Baxter International's, remember that name, research facility in Austria. The contamination incident, which is being investigated by 4 European countries at least, came to light when the subcontractor in the Czech Republic inoculated ferrets with the Baxter product, and the ferrets died. Ferrets shouldn't die from exposure to human H3N2 flu viruses. It's a big story, and to kind of fill in the blanks and bring us up to speed on this is Dr. Bill Deagle, MD.
Yeah, this is not an accident. Just to summarize for those who aren't scientists, what they were seeing happening over the years is the H5N1 is so lethal, in order for it to recombine, it had to have 2 infections in one host, whether it's a bird, a person, a pig, and then to swap sections of DNA to transfer the docking genes. And that basically, they have done this. They've done what you actually do to create a bioweapon by mixing H5N1, which is highly pathogenic, and with the H3N2, and then sending it to 18 different labs in 3 countries. So they actually...
Now, without getting too far down the road on this, Baxter International was responsible for doing this. And the obvious question is, why would they possibly mix H5N1 with H3N2 and send it to 18 different countries? Accidents like that don't happen.
No. In fact, all of the procedures had multiple steps would have prevented this. And then at the site in the Czech Republic, they just followed a lab procedure to pass it through by injecting it into ferrets to make certain that it was safe to continue experiments on animals or humans. Plus, the same company, Baxter, was ready to release their own version of the avian flu vaccine, which multiple companies are competing for.
Right.
And Baxter, of course, is in the 10th district, which is the same district for Mr. Obama.
What are the ties, do we know, between Baxter International and the CIA or the feds in any other respect? Do we have any direct ties?
Lots of interesting connections. In fact, this is where the points that Dr. Ott sent me earlier this evening,
which are up on the feature,
which are up on that, and they're quite dramatic. In fact, he has he's got this very dry sense of humor. Oh, kiddies, let's play my favorite game, connecting the dots. And if you go down through this, you can see the connections between PricewaterhouseCoopers in conjunction with Chicago client Baxter International, and of course the tie-in directly to Dr. Tautenberger in Fort Detrick, who intentionally blended human-specific H3N2 and sent to 18 different labs. So there's direct connections here, and you can see the connection between PricewaterhouseCoopers and this, and of course.
Because I'm very concerned. We have some actual proof that a trucker may actually be transporting bird flu. We have a federal agent who is aware, who has taken the documents to many agencies, including New York State Police, the FBI in many, many states, infection control disease. And what this trucker reported was that he works for Department of Homeland Security. He's a Spanish man who is trucking an independent truck. He goes down to the corner of Broadway and Clinton in Albany, New York at the Department of Homeland Security facility every single evening for loads. He said there are Raymore and Flanagan's and J.B. Hunt trucks ahead of him loading, that he has taken loads from a silo above Glens Falls. His truck actually was lowered into the ground into a silo. When the truck came out of the ground, he was given a shot in his arm told to protect his family. He transported iced, refrigerated loads to the Pentagon, Baltimore, Maryland, Tucson, Arizona. He was told that if he told the federal investigator how he's getting paid through the Bank of America with a number. He walks up to a window. He presents his number. He is taken to a back room and paid in cash. He showed the federal agent $100,000 worth of receipts because he gets $5,000 per load, and he's done as many as 3 loads per day.
Okay, now wait, let me just stop you right here because this is amazing information to say the least. Now, perhaps he is transporting vaccines, refrigerated vaccines. Is that a possibility?
Anything that has to be iced either has to be an antigen or an antibody. That's all we know. But we know that they gave him a shot to transport it, that they told him it was to protect his family, that it is obviously something that has to be kept refrigerated. He did one load for a complete week to Tucson, Arizona and back, but the amount of money that they're paying him under the table through Bank of America, only loading at night. They call him and they ask him to come down to meetings at Department of Homeland Security at 3 o'clock in the morning. They'll ask him how